Well, I think this is Buttern Hill Stone Circle. I'm going to set up camp here. It's almost 6 o'clock and I've been walking for nearly 4 hours. I'm surprisingly feeling it actually. My shoulders are hurting a bit and my somehow my feet seem to be rubbing a bit. So the bag is ridiculously heavy, and having taken it off just now for a quick breather, I really don't think I want to put it back on again until I've eaten and drank some of the contents. So that I think is what I'm going to do. Once again, I'm going to do a tent setup segment, and I usually end up thinking, oh, I can't be bothered with that, taking up too much time. At the moment it's not particularly windy, which is making this easier, but I love this pole. Probably one of my favourite bits about the tent. It's very, very light. How boring is this? I still don't get the awning on this thing because I mean, first of all, that attachment is really loose, and as soon as you brush past it or anything, it pops off. I can just about sit underneath it, but I don't know, I feel like it just needs a bit more. There you go, and it pops off again. I'm doing something wrong here, aren't I? That is home for the night. Can't seem to get out of my can't get my shadow out of shot. Filled with all my tat. I am going to make a lasagna, and I'm betting you haven't seen this done on Dartmoor before in a, you know, with a camp stove setup. Now you're thinking, but Tweedy, surely for a lasagna you need an oven, you need to bake it. Well, sort of, yes, but I reckon, well, I mean, all will be revealed as I go along, but I've been thinking about this, and I think I can make it work. It's going to all happen. The magic is going to happen in the frying pan, but I will need the billy for some additional cooking too. The first thing I've got are lasagna sheets. Now I've snapped these in half. That's why they look a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy like that. Mainly just because they won't fit fully inside my billy can. Otherwise, I wouldn't normally pre-boil them at home because they just cook in the oven in with the sauces, the cheese sauce and the sort of bolognese type sauce, whatever you call the red one. But I'm going to have to pre-cook them a bit in this setting. So I'm going to put some water in. While that is doing its thing, I only have one gas burner. Well, small caveat which we'll get to later, but put a bit of olive oil in there now before I forget. I'm going to chop up an onion and some garlic. Once again, I'm not going to leave any even organic matter behind. It's sort of not really indigenous, is it? The red onion, not a native species of Dartmoor, I'm fairly sure. You don't see them growing in the wild. It's again a bit too thick, this knife, really, to do a good job of onions, but it'll just about work. Okay. Go in there. Chop a bit of garlic. Finally chop, well, finally, there's a load more to do. But in terms of chopping things, I think this is the last thing to chop. Courgette, zucchini, whatever you call it, your part of the world. How is that doing? So I reckon we can just take that off and let it sit now, because that's come to a boil. And instead, on goes the onion, garlic, courgettes, and also into that some nondescript mince. Now, of course, you'll be very surprised to learn I've brought along some wine. That's part of the reason, as always, my bag was ridiculously heavy. A bit of a change from Gevrey-Chambertin. This is one of our other favourite Côte de Nuit villages. Nuit Saint-Georges, I think is very, very good, particularly from this producer, Philippe Gavinier, and this particular series is Vieilles Vignes. It's sort of village level from old vines in Gevrey-Chambertin. And part of the reason I'm opening it now is because I want to put a slosh, a bit of a waste really, because it's such a very nice wine, but I want to put a bit of a slosh of this in the bolognese type sauce thing that I'm making. So I will have a slurp of that first though. Cheers. Here's to ridiculously overly complicated cooking on Dartmoor. Look at that. Oh, it's good. It's so pure and fruity, and there's a bit of vanilla in there, and zero tannins. It's just lovely. It's a very, very nice fruity Pinot Noir Burgundy Nuit Saint-Georges. Okay, is it time for a slosh of wine? I always like this bit. Great. Right, next thing to go in, this incredibly cute tin of chopped tomatoes. Do you want to see that going in? Does it really matter? It's coming together quite nicely. So I'm going to move on to the cheese sauce next. I'm going to do this the simple way with a sort of roux added later rather than the roux going in first. So milk, warm that up a bit. It's a nice sound, isn't it? I think that's almost coming up to the boil now. So I'm going to add in my my roux, my flour and butter. I mean, normally you would sort of mix that together first, but I've done this before. It will work, trust me. Looks awful, but it will work. Anyone else stirring a bechamel on Dartmoor at the moment? No, it's just me. Well, it's a bit lumpy, but who cares? I'm going to put some cheese in there. A great bit of Tweedy camera work here. And leave a bit to sprinkle on top. Oh, that's really thick now. Put on the stove. Get a bit of a melt. Put some lasagna sheets on. Perhaps we should put an intermediate layer of cheese sauce on there. Get the rest of the cheese sauce on there. The rest of the cheese might as well go on top, because I've got it. Now, I know what you're thinking now. You're thinking, well, sure, and that is probably some very vague approximation of a lasagna, but you know, it's not really finished, is it? Surely that needs to go in the oven. So I've given it some thought about how can you achieve you know, a nice sort of brown finish on the top of your camp stove lasagna, and the solution is this, which is a blowtorch. Now, it's not, you know, a typical piece of camp cooking equipment, but it's relatively lightweight, 200 grams or so, I think it was, with some gas in it. You know, and this is one of those things that you use for finishing off creme brulee and stuff. And I think I can melt that cheese with this. So this is a bit of an experiment. Are we ready for some blowtorch action? Well, cheese is definitely melting. I'm going to do the rest, holding it off the ground. Yeah, just don't want to scorch the grass at all. I don't think I have, but just be extra safe. So sorry you might not be able to see what's going on quite so well, but trust me, it's going nice and brown. Slightly missing the sunset while I'm messing around here with my lasagna. I think the sun is just about to disappear behind that hill. Okay, I think that's probably done enough. It doesn't look quite like you know, a lasagna when it comes out of the oven at home. Bit of golden brown there, bit of a mess, but I'm gonna tuck into that and see what it's like. Ready for a taste test. You know what that reminds me of? Reminds me of pub lasagna. I guess for practical reasons, they have to sort of, you know, assemble it and then just give it a quick grill, like I've done there. Rather than baking it in the oven for 30 minutes or whatever I do at home. That really isn't bad. I don't think that's a completely terrible effort. It does look a bit like a lasagna. You've got to give me that, surely. Giving it another heat up from the bottom. Amazingly, while I was messing around with the blowtorch there, the tomato sauce underneath started to cool down because the air's quite cool here. So I'm just warming that back through again. That seemed to make all the difference, actually, giving that final bit of extra heating from the bottom. I love the flavour of the cheese on the top. And perhaps it has the subtle hint of butane, giving a bit of an extra kick. Come with me, if you will, for a post-dinner stroll around the grounds. Oh, I'm tumbling over the tussocks a bit. That's a tent I've temporarily tidied up a little bit. Put the cooking stuff away, half washed up. And we saw this earlier. My little side of the stone circle here. I think the pegs need rejigging a bit. It's gone a bit floppy, but never mind. I put the light on inside the tent in the hope of making it look cozy. Can you see that star up there? It's just a single star, whatever that is. I had to put this neck warmer on. Let's just pretend it's a cravat. Is it called a snood? I don't know. Had this thing for a while. I was sitting here thinking, well, you know, to pass the time, perhaps I could have a little chat with you all about something or other. Absolutely nothing is coming to mind. My mind is a wonderful blank. I've been sitting outside trying to do some night photography. You know, always a bit of a disappointment. The stars are absolutely beautiful tonight. I can't see them now because I've got this blinding light shining in my eyes, but I've been watching Orion. It almost sounds like the closing sequence to Blade Runner, attack ships off the shoulder of Orion, but I've been watching Orion, Orion's belt shifting across the sky. At this point I will say goodnight and I will see you in the morning. Morning. The moon over there is looking rather lovely. It's 6 AM. The tent is really kind of soaking wet and frosty. That is one frosty tent. You see that? The pretty frosty. Oh, it's almost like snow, isn't it? It didn't feel that cold inside. That's a pretty good frost there. The sky's looking vaguely interesting in that direction. A shot of the sky and the tent. How's that? Looks pretty nice from that angle with the moon behind it. Okay, for breakfast I have some porridge that I picked up in the excellent station cafe in Oakhampton, and I probably said just now I'm going to use the frying pan to heat some water because it's much cleaner than the billy can. Oh, that's so nice. Any source of heat on a frosty morning like this, much appreciated. Doesn't say the exact number of millilitres it needs, it says just fill to the red line, so it's going to be pretty approximate. I reckon that much. I think that'll do. I don't think it needs to be boiling, it just says hot. So up to the red line. Well, it's about perfect. Well judged, Tweedy. So let's give the porridge a go. It's a bit stodgy. It's all right. Packing up's not quite as bad as I anticipated. I think makes a real difference that it's not windy. Okay, all packed up. Hashtag leave no trace. You can just see the slightly drier bit of grass where the tent was. Not a shred of anything left behind. So I've taken off the additional layers. I've just kept on the cravat. Snood, whatever you call it, because I was finding that cozy. Don't judge me. So I'm now going to head on to Score Hill and then on to Chagford eventually. So we have Stone Circle coming up. I think that might be in a separate video. So if you're just here for the wild camping bit, then thanks for watching. And goodbye from Button Hill Stone Circle.